Well, in order to get the porterbuilt drop member on, the first thing we've got to do is get all this old stuff out of the way. So I think what I'll do first is just unbolt the leaf springs, roll this rear end out of here, and then we've got to go about getting these rivets out of these spring hangers, drive them out probably with an air hammer. We'll see how it goes. Okay, now to get these spring hangers removed. I've kind of got it marked out. You have to trim your frame just a bit. So it looks like we'll pull out that section and this section here to let that bracket slide down over the top of that. Okay, so here they are sitting slid over like they're supposed to be. And once you line up your 4 1/8, then you start using this as your template to drill your bolt holes. I've got questions because this doesn't fit like I think it should. For it to ever come flush, it's going to be tipped out this way. And I'm not sure what I'm missing. This one isn't as pronounced as this one. I think it's important to show it on this video because if you're using this as your guide, I don't want you to panic when yours looks like this, but I also don't know if I should panic. So I'm going to tinker around with this just a little bit more before I start popping holes and try to verify that this is how this goes before we do anything permanent. Let's verify one more time. Our 4 1/8 from the rear top, and I'm going to go, I guess, from the back side of the hole because it does not say center to center anywhere. What it doesn't say is like, is that measurement 4 1/8? Is that to the center of the hole we're getting ready to drill? Sure. I'm tired of messing with it. I'm going to treat it as such. And I went ahead and secured this side and this side so everything is sitting flush, and maybe this won't squirrel around when we're trying to drill some more holes. Get this sucker bolted into position. Okay, I've got the bridge set up here. As I started to bolt this one down, and I mentioned this earlier, it's leaned out this way a good bit. It's pretty pronounced. I can clamp it over and make it come flush, but it's still whopper-jawed is the word. I'm gonna go ahead and bolt this bridge in and start seeing if we can manipulate this into position a little bit better. Manhandling, it's not gonna work. It's a 2 ratchet strap job. What would a guy do without a ratchet strap? What did we do before ratchet straps? Okay. Whew. Did anybody bring another bolt? Nope. Good. Perfect. I still don't know where the longer bolts go. There's 2 1.5 inch. The rest are 1.25 inch. Haven't yet determined the answer to that. You know, it'd suck if this isn't even how this goes. I think it is. All right. I'm losing my mind. Thank you for the help. Thank you for the help. Okay, I don't know if you can see. It leans out slightly, but it's probably an illusion. Kind of the same deal on this one. But here's the deal on this one we got to figure out now. This is still a good ways out. A while ago when we were able to clamp this and squeeze it in, that's when our kind of deformation was happening. So let's see what it's going to do now. I think it's going to be okay. Just need to get some bolts in it. I don't know the best way to do that. This is a ways off of it yet. I'm going to have to go with it. Be all right. How the hell you want me to put the bolt in? I'm not sure it's possible to achieve this angle with the human arm. Holy shit. Nope, thought I had it. I did not. Got it. All right, so we've got our bridge bolted in. Everything came out and trued up pretty good. Now we're ready to go ahead and remove these sections. Go on to another step. Got our notches cut out. We could clean that up a little bit, before we call it good. But right now we'll move on to something easy. We're going to bolt on our upper coil mount bracket. I don't think you can mess them up because the way that they are, they're drilled in such a way where this hole is higher, same on the other side, and the brackets will only go on in such a way. So it's my guess that this upper coil bracket is the bolt kit we need. Not 100% sure, but it makes sense, so we're going to go with that. Second verse, same as the first. Well, there's nothing like backing up so you can go forward again. So this is our panhard bar mount. Finally determined that it goes like this, and then this would be where one of the 1.5 inch bolts would go. And the other one goes on the other side for whatever one of those is called. And when I took the bolt out, whole son of a bitch moved. That's gonna be not good. Well, I'm gonna scratch my head on that a minute to figure out how to get everything to move back where we need it. Slowly getting more irritated with this. Okay, so where we're at, we realized that we needed to unbolt this bolt. And so what it turns out, this is not only just a panhard bar, there's a group of these that go on and box in the top shell that we put on. Really, I don't know that it adds any strength or anything like that, but it does clean it up a bunch. I wish we would have known, because when we unbolted it, this moved. I don't know if I've got it back where it belongs or not, but it looks like I'm gonna have to unbolt that side too, so as a preeminent move, I welded it. They say you don't have to weld these. So far, I'm not a super fan of what we've got going here. I'm gonna weld them both because there's just not much keeping anything from ever working loose, and this controls your bed height, and my fuel tank will be sitting there. If these move up or down, it'll be impossible to get my bed line straight with the rest of my cab. I don't know, not super proud right now of what I've got going on, but gonna power through it. Go ahead and bolt this on, work my way on around. Keep moving. We've got a lot of money invested in this, so there is no backing in it. Would I do it twice? Not at this point. There's other options, and I don't know that they wouldn't be better. And I hate to say that because the quality is good here, but the overall end result, I'm not real proud of. So we're to this point here where we've got to remove this cross member, put the new cross member in that has the increased clearance. And so we've got to get all these rivets out, and then there's also rivets along the bottom, so those should be even more fun. But I'll get started knocking those out and see if we can get those back together. With our holes drilled out, we were able to go ahead and mount the first part of our 4-link system here. Go ahead and tighten up these brackets. Then we have these boxing plates that go on the inside for our cross member to attach to. That won't work. Well, we've got a problem. Our bed mount holes are here and here. There is no hole in this boxing plate, top or bottom. So it's not backwards, there's just literally not a hole. And that will have to be corrected. Mount plates we got from GMS Fab. They'll go right like this. We don't have a bolt hole down there. We can fix that. Okay, so we got our holes popped for our bed mount. Go ahead and secure these in if we can. Okay, we got the cross member in. We got our 4-link brackets mounted up. Got everything snugged up here on the tower. Managed to get this brace in by taking out the factory brace, spreading and manipulating a little bit. Did not do the paint any favors, but we can clean that up. With our tower and our front cross member installed, we're ready to start hanging some 4-link bars. And so I've got a couple of the 4-link bars here. We've got the bushings and the jam nuts, and grease zerks we got to get installed. See if we can get these ready, get them hung over there on both sides and start working towards getting the rear end hung under this. I got the other 2 of these already put together, but I did have trouble getting the grease zerks in them. So before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and chase the threads on these real quick just to make that a little easier. All right, let's go ahead and put the panhard bar together. That should take care of that. The best chance of ever getting grease done on this one, probably up. Oh, this cost me a lot of time. I got to looking at the center of my C-notch and where my axle was going to mount and thinking, man, my axle is going to be way behind center. Well, that's because there's a right and a left. This needs to go over there. And I got to take all of this back apart to access each one of those bolts on both sides to resituate that. And I would say it took me probably at least an hour to get them on there. It's going to take another hour plus to get them off and on. But like I said, I didn't have any instructions. They said they were on the website. They're not. They have sent me some pictures since, but I have already gone this far, and the pictures are what helped me determine that this was wrong. So, you know, what are you going to do? Get started pulling that stuff apart. Now we move to the part where we're going to be ready to put our rear end under our truck. And so we've took some measurements here in order to get our brackets where they need to be. We need to be 5 3/8 from the outside flange on each side. We've got a bracket in place here that will help us verify center to center, and then an angle gauge. Make sure we get our brackets on the same plane as our rear end, and that should be that. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. We've got this first one sitting here ready to go. Go ahead and tack it in place. Get our other one sitting on there. Double check ourselves, triple check ourselves before we go ahead and burn these in. I use these angle gauges for all kinds of stuff. So we're sitting at 0 here. We've got it strapped onto the sawhorse. It can't really move. It can move a little, but not much. Now we should be able to move our angle gauge over to any flat surface on our bracket. We've got it sitting at 0. So I'll make a mark for reference. If we bump it, we can get back and at least double check ourselves before we start welding. That looks good. And zeros with that, zeros with that. Let's tack it. Okay, with our brackets in place and our measurements double checked, we're ready to go ahead and burn these in there. Take this thing over and hang it and see what it looks like. We do have one more part. The axle mount for our panhard bar. So our mount is gonna have to go right in there where the nice little Currie logo is, and that's okay. We're gonna have to move that or take it off or something, but it's gonna have to sit about like this, which is gonna pretty well cover all of that and interrupt the weld sequence. So, okay, we've got our rear end mocked up, hanging here from the new coilover conversion kit from Porterbuilt Fabrication. We've got a few more things we've got to button up. We've got to get our panhard buttoned in, and we need some shocks. Well, that's where Viking comes in. Take a look. So when I knew I wanted to switch to coilovers, I started looking at options. There's different brands out there. I came across Viking, American owned, made in the US, great customer support. They were good to deal with. I told them what spring rate I needed for this truck and this kit, and told them what length I needed. We went with a double adjustable series. I've gone ahead and put this one together, but I'll show you how they come. So in your box, you'll get your shock body, hardware kit, instructions, Viking sticker. We went ahead and had them send us the wrench, and we didn't know if we were going to get silver springs or black, but they sent us the black springs, and they're super sharp, as you can see. They also sent 2 large Viking decals. Special thanks to Viking. Good looking shocks. Can't wait to try them out. With everything welded, went ahead and painted the rear end, and it's time to go ahead and set the center section in. Also a Currie product. Went with 389 gears on this one, 31 spline axles, and I opted to go with their twin track Positrack system. And here's how that arrived. So let's see if we can get that set in there. So I'm in the process of cleaning up the gasket surface here so we can go ahead and mate this third member with our rear end housing. I've got that one cleaned up. This is how this one came out of the package that I received. I'm a little bit disappointed in that. I can clean it up, but that's some pretty heavy rust. I don't know why we couldn't have put some machine oil or something on it to keep it protected a little bit better in the shipping process. Currie says to put a bead of black RTV down, then the gasket, another bead, then install. That should be fun for you guys to discuss, because not everybody agrees on that. Some people say just the RTV, some people say just the gasket. Some people say ditch the felt gasket, use a lube blocker gasket. I guess we're just gonna follow their instructions today. Now the tricky part is getting this thing on there. They are heavy. So we got them semi-tight. We'll go ahead and start torquing these down to 35 pounds is what Currie calls for. I'm glad to have that wrestling match over with. An extra set of hands would have been awesome for this part of the project. So here it is in its entirety with the rear end in place. We've still got some bolts to tighten down and some paint to touch up. But here's the Porterbuilt level 2 rear drop member for the 73 to 87 Chevy C-10 coilover conversion kit. Let me know what you think. If this is something you'd be interested in trying, or if there's things you like or don't like about it, drop them in the comments. Here's a quick sneak peek of it with the tires and wheels we'll be running on this one. Plenty of clearance with that outboard mount. So that'll pretty well do it for the install of the Porterbuilt rear drop member kit. Next up is wheel lid brakes. Got to get the fuel tank mounted and plumbed in, and then we'll be moving to paint and body on this build. Like and subscribe and follow along if you want to see the rest, guys. Thanks for watching.